Hello and welcome back to Kidocracy at Large. I'm Siddhan Chandra, here every Saturday to look at current events and collective conditions in the light of kidocracy, which is a call for the rule of minors and minorities. Kidocratic education is led by minors and minorities, aimed at adults and the majority, through individual actions and collective movements such as Black Lives Matter, Me Too, Idle No More, and Fridays for Future. Sometimes individual actions ignite collective movements, as when Greta Thunberg went on strike in front of the Swedish parliament. And more recently, Joshua Wright, a 17-year-old climate activist from the United States, who has ignited a movement to protect old-growth forests in Canada. But before that, let me wish you a happy summer solstice. Tomorrow, June 20th, is the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere and not celebrated in any way by the Christian calendar. Instead, we have Father's Day. Culture eclipsing nature, the key reason for our current climate bankruptcy. Humanity has been denatured, and it is crucial to our survival that we rebuild our relationship with nature and not be endlessly shoring up relations in the patriarchal family. The family is the first institution that cements our further institutionalization through the school, the church, the capitalist economy, and the militarized state. According to Nietzsche, the Christian church is to blame for denaturing humanity. Just look at the dates. While it distracts in North America from the summer solstice, in Europe it is celebrated on March 19th every year, since the Middle Ages, as St. Joseph's Day, distracting from spring solstice, occurring around the same time. Russia celebrates Father's Day as the Defender of the Fatherland Day, celebrating militarism. In Germany, it has been an occasion for binge drinking and traffic accidents. And universally, it is an excuse for consumerism, gifts for fathers, and building family relations, just like Christmas, which unhinges us from another natural turning point, the shortest day of the year, winter solstice, on December 21st. For Nietzsche, the Christian priest's anti-science, anti-nature, and anti-pleasure propaganda is pithily presented in the story of original sin, which demonizes nature as the snake and penalizes humanity as Eve for experimenting with nature. For Nietzsche, Eve is the first scientist who was punished for free inquiry. Over centuries, Christianity monetized sin by banning people's natural sexual impulses and militarized sin through the Crusades. And to update Nietzsche's insights into the present day, Christianity laid the groundwork for colonialism and capitalism. And colonial education globalized nature blindness so that we are all collectively sawing the branch we are seated on. The Christian leaders of the global north are also leading in climate denialism. Emmanuel Macron, the French president, is rebuilding the Notre Dame exactly how it was built before, which involves slaughtering 1,000 oaks aged between 150 years to 200 years. Macron, head of a neoliberal state, locked tight with the church, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, walked in the climate rally and spoke with Greta Thunberg, but prioritized a pipeline first thing upon re-election. Even the leftist NDP government of British Columbia, Canada, have failed miserably to keep their promise of protecting old growth forests. It is obvious that we have to turn away from these super dads and focus on nature if we are to protect our planet's precious green cover. Like Joshua Wright, the 17-year-old climate activist from the United States. Last summer, homebound due to the pandemic, Joshua could not visit the old forests of Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada, like he did every year. So he went online to visit virtually his favorite spots and found a new road, a new logging road going into the greenest patches of the San Juan watershed. He made a few calls to Canadian conservationists, and within a week, there was a blockade across Fairy Creek. As reported in the Globe and Mail, since last August, several blockades continued to multiply in the area, resisting the logging company. And last month, after a court injunction that favored the logging company, 150 people have been arrested, but still hundreds of people remain on the ground, the blockades having turned into autonomous zones of a leaderless movement. Traditional environmental groups are not part of this movement. For Joshua, this is climate rebellion. It is unlikely co-conspirators from across borders and nationalities that can force the saws away from the lungs of our planet. In Fadia's Tree, a documentary made by Sarah Beddington, an Englishwoman, we meet Fadia, a Palestinian refugee in Lebanon. Just 15 minutes away from her ancestral home, across the border, that she lost to the Israeli land grab. Though she left when she was a child, Fadia remains deeply attached, not so much to her home as to a tree in their yard. And she wants Sarah to find it. Fadia calls it Eitna Nafisa, a tree that had special meaning for the women of the area. Sarah, an Englishwoman who can go where Fadia is banned, looks for the tree while also interviewing Israeli ornithologists about the birds that travel through the area, especially Jerusalem, situated at the neck of migratory routes because of the Rift Valley. One talks of the same bird returning to the same tree on the same day of every year. When Sarah finds the tree, a glorious mulberry tree, feeding and sheltering birds, Fadia is ecstatic. In fact, the film shows Fadia to be like that tree. In the refugee camp, she began a kindergarten school, a play-centered kindergarten school that braces the refugee communities the way the tree shelters the birds. Refusing to move to Europe, Fadia and her children await the time when they can return and unite with their tree. Sarah Beddington's film shows the dream of a time when birds and people can move freely across borders. And not just a pipe dream. A recent case in British Columbia, Canada, recognized the Sinixt people, indigenous people, now settled in the United States, as having the hunting and fishing rights that their ancestors did. Just like Fadia identifies with her tree, the Sinixt matriarchs see the body as mainly water, see humanity as nature. Question is how to renature humanity, rewild humanity that has been blinded by 2000 years of Christian anti-nature, anti-body propaganda, globalized through colonial educational systems and neoliberal capitalism. For example, in Uganda, Hilda Nakabue, a 21-year-old founder of Fridays for Future Uganda, was told by her professor that climate change was God's plan and there's nothing we can do about it. Her native culture that used to take care of rivers while singing to rivers now chokes them with plastic. In the film Dear Future Children by Franz Baum, Hilda challenges education as usual as follows. Why would you study for a future that is not clear? Indeed, most education promotes mastery over nature and not the sovereignty displayed by the indigenous people, deeply protective of their land and the wildlife. Indigenous people, women, children, and other minorities are offered the carrot of assimilation into the neoliberal capitalist economy and threatened with the stick of persecution when they refuse to fit in. The enslavement of minorities, especially of women and the poor, is normalized through the abuse of domestic animals and an endless expansion into the wild. Even the idealization of pets hides the fact that their work is a subtler form of slavery. Rewilding of nature is urgently necessary, and it requires rewilding humanity. Kidocratic anti-fascist education through movements such as Climate Rebellion, BLM, Arab Spring, and Occupy dismantles the pyramid of mastery and slavery. It seeks to integrate the 99% divided by the 1% so that we can rule and regulate the 1%, the richest 1%, work promoting masters of the planet. It is anti-architecture, as in keep and protect the 1,000 oaks and lose the Notre Dame. It is base materialist, engaging with the dirt of nature instead of retreating into your head and hoping that the daddies of our world will solve all our problems. They are the problem. Adult supremacy and majoritarian fascism are as thick as thieves. So enough of these Father's Days and Mother's Days and Thanksgivings and Christmases. Family dramas that we are hooked on while the police arrest the activists and indigenous people hugging their trees. Let us go out and enjoy the longest day of the year and wake up from a nightmare that has lasted 2,000 years. I will leave you with a recipe for rewilding ourselves. A short poem by Mary Oliver called Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. So, happy Anti-Father's Day and happy Summer Solstice. Till next week, bye.